Okay, today I want to talk about two things. One, the scariest thing that I've ever done on the airplane or had happen. Well, not the scariest, but one of the scariest things that's ever happened to me while flying on the C-141. And one of the most fun things that I ever got to do that I absolutely loved doing while I was there on it. Um, if you, the old show Top Gun, they talked about, if they found out they were going to be hauling rubber dog shit out of Hong Kong. Um, Never hauled rubber dog shit out of Hong Kong. Hauled a few other things out of Hong Kong and some other places, but never rubber dog shit. But they made it sound bad. Actually, being on the cargo plane was a fascinating experience to do. It was probably one of the best jobs in the Air Force by far, hands down, in my opinion. Uh, because literally pretty much every day I would wake up in a different country. And so if you enjoyed traveling, which I did, I was 21 years old when I joined the Air Force. So didn't join right out of high school. I joined a little later. And being 21 years old, getting to travel the world, pretty much waking up in a different country every day was a phenomenal experience. And I recommend it for anybody. But some of the most fun things that I got to do as part of the job flying um, was airdrop. Um, it was exciting. It was. Let me bring up a little picture here and show you one of the little video and show you one of actually my favorite thing to do. Um, this is the 141 here on the inside, and you'll notice that the crew member here is actually the loadmaster. This doorway here is actually on the back side behind the wings on the airplane, one on either side of the airplane. And the back would open up, which we'll see in a little bit here. But these two doors would open up, and they're full size doors, would open up on the side of the plane. And so this is where you would see, if you'll notice when they do a lot of paratroops, you'll see them coming out the sides of the airplane on either side, and those guys will line up and be hooked up with a static line. We call it a static line. Be hooked up, and they will literally just file out that door one at a time. Boom, 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 boom. But what was fun about this for us was we would open this door up and and literally stand outside the airplane while the plane was flying, going 300 knots or whatever speed was tremendously fast. We would literally be standing, holding on either side here, and I'll show you him doing it in a second. Let's go ahead and start the video. And I don't know if the sound is sharing or not. I hope not, because it's just nothing but the sound of plane. But here he's kicking open the latch to the door, and you would pull this little lever down and then slide the door up. And now you can see they're literally flying. Now you would push a button, and this door we called I forget the name of the little door we called it, windbreaker, whatever door. But see how it had holes in it, and it would go outside the airplane, and it had these little holes that were kind of angled out, so that as the wind hit it, it would force the air kind of away from that doorway. And then that little plate, you would actually fold that little step out, kick it, make sure it was locked in, and that's literally now outside the airplane. So you'll notice here in a second, he'll just kind of stand in the doorway. He doesn't get very far out. He kind of stands and leans out a little bit. I would literally stand out on that thing outside, grab the door outside, one hand, my left hand on the inside, and I would grab my right hand on through those little holes in the door on the outside and literally stand out way outside the airplane while we're flying. And it was actually extremely fun to do. Like I said, that was one of my favorite things to do in the plane while we were flying. That was the most exciting thing to do. Uh, Now let's switch over here and show you. Now what this scene is, they're going to actually be dropping pallets out the back. And this goes to, I'll show you how this works, and then I'll tell you about one of my experiences that was the most terrifying experience for me. It was actually during airdrop school when I was going to airdrop school. You'll notice here the back, this is the back of the airplane. That's the kind of what we call the ramp. And they're lowering the ramp down. And then these two gull wing doors are going to open up. It's literally the back of the airplane. And you'll see they're swinging open here. And there now, that just went out was what they called a drone chute. And that was hanging up, and you'd rig that up in the top of the airplane. And basically, when you pulled the lever to drop the stuff, that little chute would fall and swing outside the airplane, and then you'll see it open up here. And when it opened up, what it did was, I'd say it was probably, I don't remember exactly. It was probably 2 foot, 3 foot in diameter, and it would pull out uh, uh, the pallets. They were on these rollers, I think 5.25 inch rollers, metal rollers, all down the length of the floor, and they would pull the cargo out of the plane. And then once the cargo came out of the plane, uh, it would tip up, and then the big chutes would come out that were literally packed on top of the pallets, on top of the cargo. They would That drone chute would come up and pull the main chutes out, and then the main chutes would deploy and slow it down. But let's get a look at it here. So there goes the drone chute out, and see it open up, and then it pulls the rest of the cargo out, and you can see the other. Now here's the inside view of it. Now this is important because this is what happened to me. It was one of the scariest things I ever had happen. This is actually what we did was a test pallet, we called it. It wasn't real cargo. I mean, we dropped Jeeps, Humvees, all kinds of stuff. We would drop boats. I've dropped Navy SEALs and some of their skimmer boats out of the plane. Dropped all kinds of crazy stuff out, howitzers out. But this, if you'll notice, it's real square. It's really just a concrete block. It's just concrete is all it was, a big pallet of concrete, just weight. And so it was a test rig that we used. The pallet actually is 88 by 108 inches uh, wide by 88 inches long, and then 3 or 4 feet uh, height, depending on if you're counting with the chutes you see sitting on top of it up here. But watch as this thing, once that drone chute deploys and folds out, watch how fast this thing goes out of the plane. And it's gone. There it goes. Now, what happened with me is every once in a while, that pallet would get jammed into the rails. And so it would either cock a little bit sideways or something would happen and it would get jammed, or somebody would forget to unlock what we call the detent that would lock on the sides, going down the sides. Um, would forget to unlock one. But every once in a while that thing would jam. And when that thing jammed, here you had a chute sitting out there just going, trying to pull the thing out of the plane. And here it was jammed and wouldn't leave the plane. Well, the only thing you could do, somebody had to literally jump over the back. Let's back up here a little bit. Somebody had to, let's see if I can play it here and show you. Right here, you'll notice this strap that was coming up for the chute out there, and it's going to pull it out. Well, if this thing jammed in the rail and wouldn't go out, that strap was still hooked to that chute out there, was still trying to pull it out, and you literally had to cut that thing loose. And so actually it was kind of funny. The air crews were the only ones in the military that I knew of that we were issued switchblades. So we actually carried switchblades in our flight suit in the leg, in a leg pocket in the leg of our flight suit. You would pull that out, push a button, and I mean, it was literally a switchblade knife. And because you didn't want us to be sitting there trying to open a blade up when that was happening. So in my case, uh, one of these pallets jammed inside the rail, and the parachute is out there trying to pull it out, and we're in flight, and I got to get that chute off of there. So I literally have to crawl over top of the pallet uh, as the chute's trying to pull it out, and I mean there's a lot of tension on it. I had to jump over the pallet and grab my switchblade out and literally cut that harness holding it. And there's so much tension on it. It didn't take much. I mean, that thing is so tight that you literally just take that blade and touch it to it, and it was like butter, man. It pow, snapped it off there. But the problem was that we were wearing a chute. We would be wearing a parachute ourselves that we didn't pack. But we would be wearing a parachute for extreme emergencies if we fell out of the plane or something. But the danger of that was that if you jumped over the pallet and all of a sudden it decided to break loose and free up, now you've got that big block of concrete or whatever it was is pushing you out the plane with it. So you're headed out the plane with it. And hopefully it doesn't knock you out or something like that as it took you out, or hang you up or something, or in the chutes or whatever, and make you a smoking hole in the ground. But fortunately, when I did it, it didn't break loose from me. It stayed jammed up in the rails, and I was able to jump over quickly, grab the switchblade, touch it with that, on that strap. And as soon as I touched it, pow, that strap broke and the chute went out, went the rest of the way out, and we were able to close the doors up and recover. But that was probably the scariest thing that ever happened to me doing airdrops. So that's it. See y'all next time.